pot, whipping up the pot, ayy. Whipping up the soda, whipping up the pot, whipping up the pot, ayy. Everybody get, let's go. Everybody, let's get go. Yeah. Look, ayy. Whipping the soda, whip it in the pot, whip it in the pot, yeah. Everybody soda, whip it in the pot, whip it in the pot, ayy. Everybody whip it up soda, get it in the pot, ayy. Yo, what is happening, YouTube? This your boy CJ_GF, and we back at it again with another video. We got another SCP video. We got the top 5 SCP monsters from Mythology. Go ahead and like, comment, and/or subscribe on the road to 250 subscribers. Turn that post notification bell so you can stay in tune when I drop another video. Share your friends, family, and your pet lizard. Let's get it, man. Let's go. Also, let's get 10 likes on the video, and thank you all for the love and support. Let's get it.
There are no new ideas, right? This isn't a bad thing, it just means that most of the stories we're familiar with are gonna get reimagined from time to time. And some of the oldest and most lasting stories are those that originated in mythology. Modern tales adapt myths all the time, so of course there are some SCP entries that do the same. So today we're gonna take a look at the top 5 SCP monsters from mythology. Let's go. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-352, the Old Crone, the Witch, the revenge-fueled Russian, Baba Yaga. We've all heard some variation of this story at some point, whether it was done up in a movie, for a TV show, or even as a monster in a creepypasta. Well, Baba Yaga exists in the SCP universe too, and she is quite the handful. She appears to be an old, emaciated woman, but that's just how she looks. This SCP is much faster and stronger than her appearance belies, able to lift things as heavy as 200 kilograms with little effort and moving as fast as 70 kilometers per hour. She can even recover from wounds that would be fatal to other humans.
One sec, yo. Had to go and grab this. Also, stay hydrated, y'all. For real, for real.
Even stuff like disembowelment. An absolute force to be reckoned with for sure. And that is just the beginning. She can grow strange, clear hairs from different points on her body at a pretty fast rate, and these have been reported as creeping and crawling across surfaces. They're covered in a strange enzyme that 352 produces, which on contact with human tissue causes a horrific reaction. Those affected by this enzyme will stop logically thinking altogether and cease to feel any pain. They enter a state of euphoria, during which Baba Yaga begins to eat them limb by limb over the course of many days. So even though they're being eaten, they don't really know what's going on. This SCP was originally discovered in a Russian forest after many people reported mysterious disappearances in the area. And if we look to Russian folklore, we find a lot of the same characteristics attributed to the legendary character. Baba Yaga has appeared in hundreds of folktales with a variety of hallmarks that seem to be closely associated with her. There's the hut with chicken legs, a mortar and pestle, and the mop/broom that appear quite often. She's also regarded as being especially ferocious looking and tends to be extremely repulsive to those who behold her. After all those years terrorizing Slavic folks who dared to enter magical forests, she's finally been contained by the SCP Foundation, although they tend to have a lot of trouble keeping her contained. As of right now, the Foundation is attempting to find a type of food that will keep her satisfied and docile, but human flesh is the only thing that seems to elicit said behavior. Good thing there's a lot of D-class, right? Coming in at number 4, we've got SCP-1826. The Wild Hunt. This is a tale as old as time, often characterized by a large group of hunters being led through a truly insane expedition by a god or other powerful creature. While the term itself was coined by Jacob Grimm, there have been examples.
Also, on another note, I did not know Baba Yaga, or whatever, however you say it, was a SCP. Also, sorry for the lighting. I'm at my homie's house, and this is the only light he got right here. It's his light on his fucking roof, or his ceiling. So, yeah. Whatever. It's whatever, bro. Shit, it's all good. But, yeah, let's get back to it.
This kind of story all throughout history, all across different cultures. When you encounter a wild hunt, that's bad news. They tend to be omens of catastrophe, whether that be war, famine, or plague. Although for some folks, it just means they're gonna die soon, which sucks, but at least it's only bad for one person. SCP-1826 is an adapted version of the Wild Hunt, as seen by folks at the Foundation. There's an office building somewhere in the Ukraine that hosts a yearly Wild Hunt. Nobody really understands how it all got started, but here we are. During the month of March, this place is totally off limits. If any sort of sapient organism enters this empty cubicle graveyard during that time frame, they're gonna get swept up in the excitement. And by excitement, I mean they're gonna have to partake in the hunt, which will guarantee their untimely death. Yeah. Also, there has to be a black canine in the building for this to work, but that happens surprisingly often for whatever reason. So when the wild hunt begins, the entity that causes it will manifest in its host body in front of whatever person has entered the building. They will announce their intent to engage them and hand them a weapon. The hunt begins, and they attempt to avoid whoever is there for as long as possible. And when a fatality occurs, the corpse gets absorbed into the walls. What a fun pastime for glory, I suppose. At that point, the foliage will begin to rapidly grow in the area. Folks have claimed to see dozens of winged humanoids.
Ricky Repass calls it free money.
Bruh.
Have got back over $900.
Whenever he fills up,
Like, come on now.
Manifesting in the area, which may be instances of folks who didn't survive the hunt, or possibly just some entities who are historically connected to the leader of the hunt. Hard to say for sure, but pretty interesting. These days, the SCP is neutralized. See, when these winged entities made their way out into the open on one occasion, an MTF opened fire on them and collected the 22 corpses that resulted. So for now, the wild hunt has been called off, and since then, nobody's entered the building during March. Probably for the best in the end. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-1448. Urban legends are mythology too. Modern mythology, stuff that highlights the values and fears of the populace today. Usually we associate mythology with ancient tales from long-lost societies, but we're living in a culture that will one day be considered ancient. Better write all these down, eh? This SCP is specifically associated with the creation of urban legend. It's an incorporeal entity that is really hard to see, can shapeshift rapidly, and tends to migrate often. Wherever it ends up, it seems to pick a generally spooky or otherwise disconcerting location or object and begins to inhabit that space. Some common examples are churches, old tree stumps, small bodies of water, and abandoned amusement parks. Once it settles on a location, the tendency for stories about said location to be told will increase. Usually there will have been a death in the area too, which helps the whole myth-making process. Rumors...
Oh, hell no. They bugging. That couldn't be me, shit. I'll be out of there like swimwear. He did. Shit. Not me, man. Could not be me at all. Man. I don't know what to do about that. I be tripping out.
pertaining to the newly formed urban legend in the area will spread quickly as more people learn about whatever spooky things supposedly happen there. Eventually, rituals will be imagined by the local populace at large, which are supposed to cause unlikely things to happen. But none of the stuff is actually real. It's all just a side effect of the entity that is SCP-1448 being in the area. But everyone who encounters it will believe it. And that's how a whole lot of urban legends were started, apparently. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-1179. Currently, this SCP is missing in action. Nobody's seen it since the 60s, but I'm sure someday it will appear again. We might not like it when it does, though. The way it's been described is as a giant, vaguely human figure carved from volcanic rock. But it's not a statue. In fact, some folks say that it is the Norse El Jotun Suitor. You know, the giant guarding the gate of the fire realm, the one that's 30 meters tall, has a beard and horns. Yeah, that one. The thing is, these mythological creatures are well known for their ability to shapeshift as well, which is part of why nobody really knows where it is these days. It can change form, become invisible, and even fly, and any photographic evidence of the monster has been rendered inconclusive, whether thanks to technological malfunction, operator error, or destruction of gear. Although some folks have reported 1179 having hellfire for eyes and stinking that, if I've learned anything from horror movies and reading SCP entries, it's that if a mythological creature doesn't want to be found, you should probably not go looking for it.
Even
what
that noise
if you
was.
do end up locating your target, you're not going to be too happy with what happens next. Finally, at number 1, we've got SCP-3844. It's a dragon, and a pretty chill one, too. At the beginning of the 20th century, a group of explorers came across the dwelling of a giant, flying, fire-breathing reptile. Like many dragons, this one can actually communicate with humans. And originally, it was very friendly, too. It treated the humans who would visit as friends and even shared drinks and treasure with them. But over time, the Foundation had to amp up their containment procedures to ensure that this anomaly remained hidden, which at first was okay with the dragon, but not flying was a tough deal. Over time, the dragon grew smaller and felt as though the wonders of the world were being slowly sapped away. As the Foundation supplied it with more reading material and more world around it function, it became less content, especially as it could not experience the world itself in order to keep it hidden away. In the end, the dragon decided that it could not wait around any longer as the world's whimsy disappeared before its very eyes. So it attempted to fly away, resulting in Foundation forces shooting it down. Very tragic. However, a new document has been added to the many files that make up 3844's entry. Apparently there might be more dragons in the mountains. It's a good faith with the Foundation, but
God
at
damn.
least there are still some around. Myths are just stories that stuck around longer than most, right? Their timelessness is well deserved, and I'm sure that with more time we'll see many more classics crop up. So, what'd you think of the list? Did you know all?
Alright, well, speaker's about to die, and yeah, keep making a buzzing, beeping noise. If y'all heard that, my fault. And yeah, I ain't even know how this shit was like something that they was doing in SCP or whatever. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like, comment, and or subscribe on the road to 250 subscribers. Turn that post notification bell 682 when I drop another video. Share this with all your friends, family, and your pet lizard. We up out of here, and that's on gang.